Happy Thanksgiving and happy birthday, and welcome to another exciting episode of Film Boy Base. I'm Alison Parker.
Hello, Alison Parker. Happy Thanksgiving and happy birthday to you too.
Thank you. Well, we're here to talk about things that make us feel cold, movies that evoke coldness. It's very cold here, as you can see. We're wearing our winter's finest.
It's almost 70 degrees.
It's very
Which is
chilly
cold
outside.
for a native Floridian like her.
You know, my grandma always talks about Dr. Zhivago. We'll put that title up right here. Maybe. How it always makes her feel really cold. She likes to watch it in the winter. There's these long escapes, these long panning shots of trains, and she's on the train. Is she ever going to get off the train? Dr. Zhivago. Makes me feel very cold.
Anything taking place in Russia is usually a pretty good bet for something that will make you feel cold.
And it's not the only train film that makes me feel cold. There's Snowpiercer. Very, very cold film. The coldest of the cold films.
Murder on the Orient Express.
Does that make you feel cold, or is it just another train film?
The Polar Express.
I don't watch Robert Zemeckis films anymore.
Polar and Train.
Robert Zemeckis, though.
Yeah, but he did Back to the Future, so we got to give him a break.
Okay, well, what movies make you feel cold?
Well, do you even have to ask? It's so obvious.
Well, we're making a episode about it, so you might want to articulate them.
The Empire Strikes Back, obviously. The battle on the ice planet of Hoth. How do you not feel cold during that? Luke is out there freezing, and Han has to cut open the Tauntaun to keep him alive. I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
That's a great point, because a lot of times planet films, solar system films, exoplanetary films, they do make you feel cold because it's temperatures we don't even have here on Earth.
Like what?
Like absolute zero.
Of course. I forgot about Absolute Zero.
It's everyone's favorite. Their favorite temperature.
And speaking of favorites,
Kelvin Forever.
my favorite film of all time, which regular viewers will probably know, ends with, spoiler alert, someone freezing to death.
Is that, what?
You don't know my favorite film of all time? We've been friends for 15 years. She doesn't know my favorite film of all time.
Well, the freezing to death thing threw me off.
It's, of course, The Shining.
Oh, of course.
The final showdown
yes.
in a icy hedge maze.
I knew that.
I felt pretty cold. I don't know about you.
It does. Because the book has a sense of coldness that the movie really captures.
Yeah, but this channel is about films, not about books.
But we talk about
So we'll
books on this channel.
steer clear
That's your channel.
of talking about books.
Is
Focus
that
on
you
the
telling me to
films.
stay in my lane?
Stay in your lane.
Okay.
Movie lane.
Other books that make me feel cold?
No books, movies.
Wow. Other movies that make me feel cold. What about songs that make me feel cold?
Baby, it's cold outside?
Sure, although I'm not sure that we're supposed to sing that one anymore.
Oh, is it verboten?
Maybe.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll just cut all of that out.
We're not going to cut any of that out. It's all staying in.
That's staying in.
Back to movies that make us feel cold. I think a lot of movies make me feel cold because I go to the movie theater and it's so cold inside. So
You say that, but the last time I went to the movie theater, there was no air conditioning and it was miserable. It was so hot.
it's not just Christmas films that make me feel cold, because Meet Me in St. Louis is my favorite Christmas film, and it doesn't really evoke coldness for me. So what is it quintessentially about coldness that we can garner from films?
Well, I think you can talk in a literal sense, where you have something taking place in a cold environment, like Troll Hunter.
Oh,
or
lovely film.
Lovely film, Troll Hunter. Or you can use it in a more metaphoric or artistic sense, where maybe there's a lot of isolation, maybe the color palette is very muted.
Whatever Happened to Baby Jane?
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
That's a great film. It's very cold. I was thinking of something like, it's a little bit of a mix of metaphorical and literal, something like The Witch. You know, it takes place out in the middle of the wilderness. They are kind of freezing to death, but more than just the literal cold, it's the filmmaking techniques, it's the isolation, it's the hostility between the characters, it's the muted colors.
The entire oeuvre of Ingmar Bergman. And you said
Right.
earlier,
There's nothing that says cold like playing chess with death,
you said a
which
certain...
is a feature of every Ingmar Bergman film.
That's only in literally the one. What about that John Carpenter film that you said made you feel cold?
The Thing.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a polar or an Antarctic expedition. Of course it's going to make you feel cold.
Not a lot of films about the Arctic or Antarctica, and I think that's
Well,
a sad state of affairs.
I think it's largely because there's not a lot going on down there. I think they should do, I'm gonna break my own rule and return to literature, but they need to do a film adaptation of the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, Edgar Allan Poe's only novel, which is very similar to H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness. It's a polar expedition that goes horribly wrong.
Was he from Limerick?
No.
The man from Nantucket? Okay, well, I think that Snowpiercer is a very evocative film too. when it comes to cold. In fact, that's used as punishment in one of the scenes.
Yes.
The cold weather.
Well, cold is very punishing.
Oh, and even just like big blockbuster films, like I can think of Roland Emmerich's films of late in the last 20 years. There's The Day After Tomorrow.
I was going to mention The Day After Tomorrow,
2012,
which paradoxically is about global warming, but has a lot of coldness in it.
It's about climate change, absolutely.
Global warming.
We'll save that for another day. What else?
Cannibal the Musical.
Does that make you feel cold?
Absolutely, you're freezing to death, and they have to resort to cannibalism to survive.
There's
Cannibal
the
the Musical, of
Donner
course,
Party film.
the first film by Trey Parker and Matt Stone of South Park fame. Hilarious, great audio commentary on the DVD.
Oh, Alive.
With the song "Alive" is a good one. There's another cannibalism film called Ravenous. That's very good.
Yes, I've seen that.
Has
from
a lot of
like,
cold
late
in it.
90s, I believe,
Yeah.
1989. And probably just a ton of horror films. You know, you get the trope of the cabin in the woods, and you need to escape, and then they have to hike out through the tundra. And there's also a film with Cate Blanchett and Idris Elba, I believe, where they crash the plane and they have to survive in the icy cold. That one just came out a handful of years ago, and I believe it's based upon a book.
What about the adaptation? Not a good film, but the adaptation of the first Narnia book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where it's always winter, never Christmas. Nothing colder than that.
Sure.
And then,
Winter
of course-
has come to Narnia.
Game of Thrones.
Right.
And then, of course, there's the Golden Compass adaptation. Again, not a good film, but any film,
Sadly, no.
any film with Nicole Kidman in it, I regard as cold.
Yeah, I think Tilda Swinton was the one in the 2005 version or 2007 edition.
Yeah. Eyes Wide Shut.
Does that make you feel cold?
Any film with Nicole Kidman makes me feel cold.
Do you think she has
Ice
an icy
Queen,
demeanor?
Of course. Ice Queen Nicole Kidman.
I don't get that from her. She's Australian.
Yeah, that's why it's so strange.
I never knew the parallel. Okay.
No warmth in that woman.
I think maybe you're just not watching the right Nicole Kidman films.
Oh yeah, I should have watched Australia because that was such a great movie.
Well, I didn't say that. Little Big Lies on HBO. That was a good miniseries. Very warm, sunny demeanor.
You're off topic now.
You're off topic.
Back to cold films.
I think I'm pretty much tapped out of cold films, unless you can think of any horror.
Well, the only ones I can think of remaining are all Christmas films, you know, which usually don't have an overall cold vibe to them, but they start off cold and they end up warm and forgiving, which is nice because we're going into the Christmas holidays coming up pretty soon, and we're going to all need to be warmed up by our campfires, by our
Right.
fireplaces, with our stockings hung by the chimney with care.
Let's think about this. Cold films in Australia would be summer films,
That's true.
right? And Kiwi. I don't know about you, but I've been watching a lot of Kiwi films lately.
Oh, like the Peter Jackson classic Dead Alive, or also known as Brain Dead?
The Breaker Upperers.
Okay.
Well, you've been here for another exciting episode of Film Bouillabaisse.
I'm not
Next
sure how
time-
informative this one was.
Well, we're going to cut a lot of this out. We're going to cut so much of this out. It's going to be very well
It'll be
edited.
a 1 minute film, 1 minute video.
Costuming by Edith Head. Thank you to Audrey Albright for being our camera person today. And as always, keep it real. I've been Alison Parker.
And I've been Logan Albright. Thank you for watching.
Happy birthday, Logan! See you next time.